Very good morning to you from the Municipal Election Special Broadcast. We're coming to you live, of course, from the Results Operations Centre, also known as the ROC in Pretoria. I'm with Desiree Chauke this morning.
A very good morning, Eben. One of the most anticipated elections, and that sting with the Q's in it almost gives you a sense of the palpable anticipation, and we'll be looking into that later on when we speak to the Vice Chairperson of the IEC. But the election that has been themed My Town in My Hands, it's here, 2 days away, but today we're starting with special votes.
Yeah, special votes today, a record number of special votes, of course, more than 800,000. We'll speak to the IEC about that shortly. Also around issues with campaigning that, seems to be continuing over the next couple of days, Desiree. But it's an exciting week ahead. It's a very important week ahead.
It's an important week for the SABC turning. We're in octogenarian, 80 years old, the SABC. It's also Women's Month.
Yeah.
But the 404 channel on DSTV is also turning 3 years old. So many milestones there.
Yeah, many milestones. 3 years old for the news channel itself. And we wouldn't say 80 years in the broadcast business, SABC, bringing you, of course, all the elections all of the time. I can tell you, of course, that for the next couple of days, one of the key focus will be for special votes. Let's go over to Desiree now to bring us up to date with how this process will proceed.
Absolutely. Mr. Terry Tselane, the Vice Chairperson of the IEC, welcome, and thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you very much for having me here.
I imagine that today we're going to be repetitive on a lot of issues because we're talking to IEC officials here in Pretoria and all over the country. But give us a sense of preparation. We can see that the Results Centre is ready to go, but tell us what has gone into this.
Well, we started a few years ago with this process. Immediately after the demarcation process were completed, we started running with our processes, and we started cutting down our areas into voting districts and continued with registration of voters. Now, as you may be aware, we've got about 26,333,335 people on our voters roll registered, and this is the highest
record numbers.
This is a record number. And then we are excited that such a great number of people have actually taken advantage of this platform and they will be participating in this process.
Does it become harder for the IEC, or does the experience come into play?
Well, every election is different, but obviously the fact that we've been running this business for a long time, we have developed a pool of electoral expertise, and this is the electoral expertise that we depend on from time to time, and therefore I think it's an advantage in a way.
Although we're saying to everyone the 3rd of August, for some people voting has started at 8 o'clock this morning. How has that been going?
It's been going well thus far, and then I think it is important for me to indicate that earlier on I may have inadvertently given an impression that our stations are not going to be open today. We are opening our stations, however. The only people who will qualify to go to those voting stations are people who have applied for special votes and people who have actually been accepted for purpose of participating for this election. So if a person has not applied, they must not go to a voting station and go and try to vote today. Their turn will come on the 3rd of August, and they will have an opportunity to cast their vote.
Please clarify this point for us. There's been a bit of misunderstanding about political parties and the continuation of campaigning. What is the actual message there?
The actual message is that the political parties have until 12 o'clock on the 2nd to campaign. As you know, that the elections happen on the 3rd, so we do not actually count the special votes as part of the election day. The election day, it's actually on the 3rd of August as proclaimed by the minister. So the political parties can continue to campaign until 12 o'clock on the 2nd, 12 o'clock midnight on the 2nd.
So where to from here?
It's all systems go. We have recruited staff, we've trained them, We have established our own system. We have tested them. They are working. Our logistics are in place. Our materials have now been distributed to the local areas, and then all our staff now are ready to make sure that they run with the process. And come the 3rd of August, we'll be waiting for people to come to our stations, and then we're running with the process. But we're excited about this. There's a lot of hype in our country, and I think the political parties largely have assisted us in terms of really keeping the momentum. They've been able to incite and excite their people to and the supporters to participate in this process, and I think the campaign is really going to yield positive fruits for us.
Absolutely, it's exciting to be here and to look at the centre. One just never gets used to it. There have been concerns about the petrol strike this week, and that might prohibit people who need to drive to their voting stations. Are you concerned about that at all?
Of course we are concerned, but all our officials in the different areas, we have requested them to develop Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, so that our processes are not unduly disrupted by these processes. But of course, in a situation where you are not able to get a petrol for our materials to go to the station, it would be a concern for us.
Let's talk about the Results Centre. Just some of the detail that our viewers might need to know. I hope our camera can zoom into the centre. It's already starting to populate. Different participants are coming in. But just talk to us, unpack it for us.
Essentially, the Results Centre, it's a get-together of various stakeholders, media, political parties, and our officials. These are the most important partners when it comes to the electoral processes. Now, the stage that you see here before us, this is where our officials are. They're dealing with all the queries, and they make sure that whatever matters that need to be attended to are attended to here. And then on my extreme right there,
a makeshift office there.
Yeah, basically that's where we're going to be having our legal team, as well as people who will be dealing with whatever queries and objections. And then immediately after that...
It almost looks like a no-go area.
Yeah. So, we'll be receiving information from there. When we're dealing with sections, what we call Section 65 objections, most of us as commissioners will be located in there. We'll be getting information from there. People may not be aware that in terms of the regulations, we cannot announce the results of the elections until such time that we have dealt with all the Section 65 objections. Mm-hmm. Section 65 objections are regarded as objections material to the outcome of the elections. So we've got to deal with that, and then it is solely the responsibility of the commission or the commissioners. So we will deal with those issues, and then after we finalize them, it is then that we can announce the results. And then the lead boards there, where you've got the logo of the IEC, that's where basically
the activity is going to be taking place too.
Yeah, that's the most interesting one. That's where now you're going to see the results as they come in, station per station, municipality per municipality, until such time that we've actually completed all the municipalities. And then next to the center stage on your left, that's where the political parties are going to be based. All those political parties that sit within party liaison committee, they will be located in those. Each and every political party has got its own computer as well as a desk from which they operate. This is very, very useful for us, because if a political party receives from their supporters or their members or their agents at the local level any query, it is easy for them to process it. They will bring it
immediately.
Yeah, some of them, sometimes you find that it's a frivolous complaint. And political parties who are here, the leaders, they know what kind of the complaints have got to be taken seriously and which ones should not be taken seriously. So they will process them, and then once they feel that this is a matter that needs to be attended to, then they bring it to our attention. Now that glass room behind you, Essentially, it is a party liaison committee room. All the meetings of the party liaison committees will be taking place there. But also from time to time, we have observers that we can brief in that room.
Mr. Tselane, absolutely a lot to talk about, but we've got the entire week to unpack everything. Right now, we're looking at the countdown. And thank you so much for making the time to talk to us. I'm sure we'll be talking to you as we go through the broadcast leading up to the election. Mr. Terry Tselane is the Vice Chairperson of the IEC. Eben, what's happening on your